Gascazzi here, your host for another edition of The Way, sponsored by the Coastal Virginia Chamber of Commerce. We like to think all our guests are special, but here's one that's been a friend of mine for over 15 years, George Kotarides. Am I pronouncing that right, George?
It's Kotarides.
I practiced that 3 times before we started, too, so forgive me. George Kotarides, who he and I are on the beach events steering committee down here. He's the owner of several Doughboys restaurants, some of the finest pizza at the oceanfront, if not the entire Hampton Roads area. But welcome, George. Thanks for joining us.
Thank you.
You had a passionate email that you sent out about doing things to promote business at the oceanfront after the COVID thing. We want to talk about that, but that coincides. Everybody in a lot of places had a tough time with COVID, especially tough in a tourist town like Virginia Beach and at the oceanfront. Tell us how that was.
Well, for everybody down there, it's been difficult, some more than others. I'm just thankful that I have a business to go to. A lot of people don't even have that. Obviously, the restrictions have hurt full-service restaurants, and I have 3, and the COVID restrictions probably had the greatest impact. Finding staff was very difficult, too. So those are the 2 primary challenges that we had this season.
By the way, George, when you were shut down inside, did people have to wait outside to get pizzas, or if they didn't have them delivered, or did you put some tables outside for outside seating?
Well, it evolved throughout the spring and summer. At the beginning, we couldn't have sit-down service inside the restaurant. We couldn't have anyone sitting inside or out. Then they allowed the outdoor dining, and then they allowed 50% indoors with spacing between the tables and front of the house staff wearing masks. So this has evolved. I think now we call it phase 3. And so we're thankful we can serve customers in our restaurants. We have kind of an open air atmosphere. We have garage doors that open up. So for folks that are concerned about indoor dining, we're sort of a hybrid where we open the doors up real wide and let the air flow through. So it may be a little more comfortable for people.
When it was just outside, you didn't have a lot of space there outside. How many tables could you actually put out there? 2?
Yeah, well, that's a good point. I appreciate you bringing that up. At 2 of our locations, we had a limited area, and of course, you have to space the tables out, so that makes it even less seating. But we popped a tent next door at our 17th Street location and put some tables out there, and that was quite a project, and it lasted a little over a month. And then when they allowed indoor dining, that was no longer necessary. But we adapted as best we could. We evolved. We survived. I'm looking forward to next year. I think it's going to be a great season. I think we're adapting to this whole pandemic situation. We're getting smarter about it. I'm seeing more people wearing masks. I think the numbers seem to be stabilizing from what I can tell.
How many businesses that friends of yours, because you're part of the AAA down there. That's the Atlantic Avenue Restaurant Association. It's
the Atlantic Avenue Association, and we have close to 70 members, and these are very very diverse group. We started it 3 years ago, and what we are is basically we're a group that wants to help build a better resort community for our citizens and visitors. And we're a nonprofit. We're a community welfare association. So unlike the Restaurant Association and maybe the Hotel Association, we're a community welfare association, not a mercantile.
What does that mean, welfare association?
Well, we're looking after the community. We're not looking after a specific industry. And whereas the hotels do and the restaurants do, I'm a member of the Restaurant Association. The Atlantic Avenue Association is an associate member of the Hotel Association. So we work together, but it's a little different point of view. And we're looking more outside the buildings A restaurant is concerned about its own business, as it should. A hotel operator is concerned about its business, as they should be. We're concerned about the community at large. We have members from all over the city that are part of our group. We have doctors and lawyers and accountants and civic leagues and individuals, nonprofits, very diverse membership. And
all members of AAA.
You can be a member, guy.
Oh, Mr. Happy USA thing. There we go again. George K. joins us right here from Doughboys Pizza on the Coastal Virginia Chamber of Commerce. The Way with me, your host, JP Gus Godsey. The business, we're very small business oriented. The money keeps coming up that everybody said that they struggled, they needed when they were shut down without revenues, like the gyms, for example, and many restaurants. Of those 70 members, if not in the Restaurant Association too, any of those that actually shut their doors are not coming back?
We've lost some businesses in our group. People are still members. We cut our dues in half this year in deference to a lot of people who are struggling to make it easier to stay up with their membership. And we've stabilized our membership. In fact, we grew it some this year, and we still have a few months left to go to hit a bigger number. But we've had a few folks in our group that have literally shut down or been unable to open in the first place. So I'd rather not mention names, but it's heartbreaking. Some of these businesses have been around for 40 and 50 years, and the last thing they imagined, when they started off this year, was to not be in business any longer. It's just been a nightmare for them and everybody else.
Especially when it was such a boom economy in January. Everywhere. I thought we were going to have a record season down here at the ocean front.
Yeah.
I'm sure like many people. Did you?
Yes, sir.
The Morgan Davis, we had him on. We talked about the grants, business loans that we're going to turn into grants. Were you able to participate in those that support your business?
Well, it was great being a member. It is great being a member of the Virginia Beach Restaurant Association and getting feedback and advice from fellow members and completing the forms and getting everything off to the banks in time. We've applied for more than just one grant. The main one, obviously, was the federal grant. Hopefully, ends up being a grant. It's a loan. They say it's forgivable if you spend it on the right things. And hopefully it will be. But we applied for that, and it's really been a lifeline for us and a lot of other restaurants and small businesses.
It's our understanding that there's still some money available. I believe it's capped at $10,000. We had Mayor Bobby Dyer on, as well as all the mayors in Hampton Roads here. But are you familiar with that program?
There was an earlier grant from the city for up to $10,000, and we applied for that grant, as have many others. And checks have been sent out. Checks have been sent out and are being sent out. And also, there was a recent grant that just closed down for up to $25,000, and those are for primarily COVID expenses that might be, I guess you could say, forgivable expenses that the city is willing to put a grant out for and people can apply for. But that closed down last week.
George, the resort tourism numbers are down, not a lot, but they're down slightly for the last 4 years. You mentioned that to me. And anytime the numbers go down, it's not just a blip when it's 4 years. You have thoughts on how we can turn the curve and get those numbers heading back the other way?
Yes. Well, there's a short term and there's a long term, right? And we're very thankful to the Resort Advisory Commission for unanimously passing a resolution that was presented to City Council to implement Atlantic Avenue area infrastructure improvements. That resolution was recently voted on and approved by Council unanimously. So we are acting upon that resolution as a community and stakeholders and we're putting forth some short-term and some long-term specific plans. I think short-term, there's a mobility study that's out there that we need to get done quickly, and it's sort of the linchpin for the long-term improvements that we've sort of been talking about regarding the infrastructure. Those will probably take, up to 5 years to accomplish. But the mobility study is sort of the linchpin, which is pedestrian movement and vehicular movement and how all that's going to connect at the resort. There's a committee set up for that called the Resort Area Mobility Plan Steering Committee. And there's a large group of people on that are smart and have, hundreds and hundreds of years of institutional knowledge down here. So I feel like we can come up with a great plan with consultants advising us along the way. But primarily, next year. Next year, we really need to get our parking worked out. People, that and safety are the two primary concerns I think most people have when they think of going to the resort these days. The parking issue has been a long-standing problem, and I think there's a lot of it is perception, quite frankly, negative perception that, hey, you can't find a parking space, or quote unquote, it's expensive to park down there. And there's some truth to that, but we can get into a talk. We're really pushing hard right now for free parking for residents. Okay. I mean, if I was running for city council, and if I ever do, Gus, if I ever think about that, you slap me across the head. All right. But that'll never happen, but never say never. Right. I mean, that's usually a curse, but no, I honestly, if I was running for office, that would be my platform. Free parking for Virginia Beach residents at the resort, and we'd work out something for folks that live in Virginia Beach and pay taxes. The other piece is safety. We need to make sure that it's a safe area, and that's going to require more police. And we're working toward that. We have a new chief. He just got hired. We're very excited about this. I can't wait to meet him. And the third piece is entertainment. This is sort of things we can accomplish quickly and by next year. And we really need to increase the entertainment budget and put some strong acts on the stages that can draw people and provide a safe atmosphere and an easy.
George, we were talking, you mentioned parking and traffic. It seems like they've been talking forever about making Atlantic Avenue one-way, Pacific one-way, so it'd be a big loop. And that just during the summer months. Why is that not a good idea, or is it?
All cards are on the table right now. We're trying to keep a very open mind and think big, and not judge or decide on anything without getting all the information. Parking is not my bailiwick, or traffic flow, I should say, is not my bailiwick, and they're talking about different ways of routing the one-way. It could be a fountainhead coming to the beach, or one way all the way on Atlantic and one way all the way on Pacific. There's pluses and minuses. Honestly, I have reservations about the one-way scheme, but it seems to be a topic, and it's certainly something we should talk about.
The beach events, we had Mike Hilton on, a similar event to what we're doing here in the few minutes that we're wrapping up. He's said that optimistically, hopefully, it's going to be back to normal next year with a full slate of events. And that we have dozens of events down there, and at least a dozen major ones. Right.
Well, there's a lot of ways to, play with the budget and how the money is allocated. It's a $5 or $6 million budget, and for the entertainment down there, and there may be ways of spending that money differently as time has passed, and maybe there's other things to look at. What I really love is the 1,000 free shows we did a long time ago, and I hate to look back too much, but sometimes you have to look back at your successes and get back to basics when you're in a difficult time, and that was a very successful time period for the resort area. And we promoted to the region and the local community about 1,000 free shows. It was very family oriented, and that worked really well. We got people down there. We had some great shows. We had national acts at the stages all summer long. Every week there was a national act, and people would come down We can do that. It doesn't have to be, you know, super duper headliners, but it can be, you know, a name act that people would be drawn to.
I got a broken banjo, and if you can play the tambourine, maybe you and I can come down there and do something.
Trying to play this. About the closest I get is a guitar.
We're gonna wrap it up here, right here. George, you got a great restaurant. I'm gonna let you have restaurants, and you're open all year long. Is that right? Your pizza
Yes, we
places?
are. We stayed open. Yeah, go ahead. Sorry.
No, I was gonna say, give a plug to those great places. That Greek pizza you make is super. There's a big picture of you holding that on Google. But
Well,
give a plug to your places.
All right, Doughboys Pizza. Come join us for a great slice. We have one on 1700 Atlantic Avenue, another at 2410 Atlantic Avenue, another at 3224 Atlantic Avenue at the corner of 33rd Street. We've been down there since 1989.
George, thanks for joining us. I'm JP Gus Gotsey, your host of the Coastal Virginia Chambers. Go grab a slice and support hunger and support my man George's Doughboys Pizza. Thanks again for joining us on another Wave.
Thanks, Gus.
Thank you, George. That